Discerning pain from suffering is one of the most essential teachings in Buddhism because it goes to the root of how human beings experience life. Pain, in its simplest sense, is part of the human condition. Every person, regardless of who they are, will encounter illness, injury, aging, and eventually death. These physical and emotional discomforts are unavoidable. Suffering, however, is something different. It is the additional weight that the mind places on top of pain. It arises from resistance, fear, attachment, and the stories we tell ourselves about what we are experiencing. Buddhism teaches that while pain may be inevitable, suffering is not, and understanding this difference is a path to freedom. In Buddhist philosophy, pain belongs to the body and the natural course of life. A cut, a headache, or the grief from losing a loved one are all examples of pain. These experiences cannot be completely avoided because they are part of existence. Suffering, however, begins when the mind clings to the pain, refuses to accept it, or imagines it lasting forever. For example, a person may feel sadness after a loss, but suffering grows when the mind says, "This should not have happened to me," or, "I will never be happy again." The pain is real, but the suffering is created in the mind through attachment and resistance. Buddha described this difference with the parable of the two arrows. The first arrow is pain, which strikes everyone and cannot always be avoided. The second arrow is suffering, which comes when the mind reacts with anger, fear, or despair. The second arrow is not inevitable, it is optional. By recognizing this, a person can begin to live with pain without letting it turn into endless suffering. This understanding is at the heart of Buddhist practice. Meditation and mindfulness are tools that Buddhism offers to help make this distinction clearer. When a person practices mindfulness, they learn to observe sensations in the body and emotions in the mind without clinging to them or pushing them away. For example, if someone experiences physical discomfort while sitting in meditation, they are taught to notice the sensation as it is, without judgment. Over time, they may discover that the pain does not necessarily need to produce suffering if it is observed with calm awareness. This practice can be applied not just in meditation but in everyday life, allowing people to face difficulties with less resistance. The Four Noble Truths of Buddhism also emphasize this point. The first truth acknowledges that life includes suffering, but the deeper teaching reveals that much of this suffering comes from craving and attachment, not from pain itself. By letting go of clinging, individuals can reduce the suffering even if pain remains. This distinction helps explain why some monks, practitioners, and even ordinary people facing hardship can endure pain with remarkable serenity. They do not deny the reality of pain but refuse to let it control their inner peace. Ultimately, discerning pain from suffering gives people a new way to understand their own lives. It shows that while pain is part of the natural flow of existence, suffering is largely within our control. By cultivating awareness, acceptance, and compassion, Buddhism teaches that people can experience pain without being imprisoned by it. This wisdom not only reduces unnecessary mental anguish but also opens the possibility of a more peaceful and liberated life.